Okay, we're back here, sir.
Back again.
How have you been, man?
Super, man. How have you been doing?
It is late at night, man. I am dead tired and exhausted. I would tell you that much.
I wish like we could paint a picture for people. Like right now,
Yeah.
it's dark.
Sure.
There's a laptop on,
Yeah.
and there's like a small headlamp on. And
Literally.
yeah, I just feel like I'm in a nerd layer somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. and
I feel like that too, man.
And this setting is not on purpose or to
It's
set a
very
certain
weird.
ambience. It's because of load shedding.
It's very weird. Yeah. There's something called load shedding in this country. It is affecting everybody. Everybody is just, yeah. So we're sitting in the dark right now recording this podcast.
Crazy.
Look at that dedication right there. This gives you this is the more reason why you should be, sharing this podcast with your family members.
We're doing
Pretty much everybody else. Culture and us. We're back, man. Episode 2.
back again, man.
That's right. That's right. Walk us through, what we're going to be, chatting about today, Greg. Wait, let me take this gum off.
Okay.
There we go.
Well, today's episode is mainly going to be about discussion around the importance of education.
Sure.
Because the name of the episode today is Education is Not the Key to Success, which I know already brings a lot of contention amongst people.
My goodness.
But just sit back and listen and let us unpack, and then you'll hear what we have to say. And would also like to hear what you guys have to say. You can give your comments, give your feedback, and just join in on the discussion. It's mainly going to be about education.
Yeah.
We're going to be discussing a bit about how education came about to be versus how things are nowadays, the value of it in our current time.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll be unpacking about that.
I mean, also just to add on that, we are on Instagram as Culture and Us. It's really just that simple. Follow us on the gram. We'd love to follow you back and just like have a chat about these kind of, sort of topics. And, you never know. I mean, a solution might just come out of these, right here. So to not really waste any time, bro, let's dive right in. Let's start by giving a little bit of a setting on the current state of things, basically, in South Africa for the young people. What would you say inspired the topic essentially, and why the discussion? I mean, I'll have my take after you, sir. So, ladies first.
What you're gonna start because it was your title. I was really drawn in by the title, which you
okay,
education is not the key.
Sure.
I think you should start.
Okay. Well, this man right here, he's like, ladies, first. I am. You know what? Let me get started. So, you guys, first of all, I think education is not the key to success. It's not necessarily a topic that is self-explanatory. In other words, we're going to be arguing for and against it just now. So, the for argument, right, which is for the statement in question, is the fact that education is just not the key to success. Or first of all, I'm looking at the unemployment rate here. The youth unemployment rate alone in South Africa is, it's essentially just hovering and floating at 61%, and still going up, by the way.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of, you got to be asking yourself, well, why is that? Like, we got so many graduates in this country. You produce so many, young, bright minds, and yet most of them are just like sitting at home doing nothing, like educated, bright young minds. Now, obviously, the outside person might be looking at this and go, oh, no, you got so many of these people, but why can't they, because they're educated, why can't they do anything for themselves? Well, first of all, you have to understand education. For me, I'm saying education is not the key to success based on the fact that the government, which is getting people to go to school, and the system that's out there right now, it's structured such that you pay way more money to entities that give you some form of accreditation, right? And with that accreditation, hopefully, you might just, find a job, right? Hopefully, right? Like quote unquote hope. Well, actually, big question mark under, under the word hopeful right there. So I think if you can just give people hope that what they're doing is going to work, that they're willing to spend money on that as well. So that's why there's a lot of money in the education sector. And I think for me, it's just too much money pumped into the wrong direction, honestly. That money could be used for something else. So I'm saying it's not the key, simply because the education that we're getting from varsity is not let me put it this way. The current economy we're in is not accommodative of the current influx going into varsity of folks being educated. It's not accommodating those graduates coming out. Hence, I'm saying it's a failing system. We have a failing educational structure. Well, okay, it's a bit tricky because I don't want to say educational structure, but I'm going to say it's a failed economic structure as a whole, and that encompasses the educational aspect of it.
Yes.
So hence for me, it's like, bro, it's just not the key, because clearly the people you're educating, you're producing less companies than you do have graduates coming out of varsity.
Yeah.
So you don't have any space for these upcoming graduates, essentially.
Yes.
But you're still telling them that education is the key. Bro, I think that's just a load of garbage, to be honest. I think that needs to be a little bit revised. But I'm coming from a very aggressive point here. Maybe you could argue against the topic. But for me, I'm saying it's not the key to success. It doesn't equip you with the skills you need in this current economy, South Africa. It doesn't equip you with the skills you need for surviving in Africa. And it certainly, though, does equip you with the skills you need for the world, right? But for the current economic climate in Africa right now, yeah, it's not for education. It's for people who, quote unquote, hustle, essentially. Hustling is
a hustle economy now.
Yeah, hustling might just be the key to success in this current economy, bro. So, but education is certainly not going to get you that far, guys. You just got to education kind of limits you also to being like a single, like a one-dimensional person. It's kind of hard for you to be multifaceted if you're like an educated person, because this is what you've been taught. Studied engineering. I'm looking for jobs in engineering. Well, bro, lady, ma'am, missy, there aren't any jobs then in engineering. Then what do you do? Does that mean you studied the wrong degree? Heck no, you didn't. But it does mean you might have studied at the wrong time. Your timing might have been bad. But now how do you adjust and adapt? That's my 2 cents.
I think there you're on a key point. Then now it comes into the point of like pivoting, where it's now just understanding the current climate of things, and understanding that maybe what you need to do is just reconsider a few things and see how you can position yourself better for the current economic climate. Because I think with this topic, I think the important thing that would want people to walk away with is to have encouragement that although it may seem like we're living in a time where it seems like it's not enough to go to varsity.
Sure.
I think we actually have the opportunity to rise to the challenge and to say that, okay, if this is not working, what are the other things that I can do, to, I wouldn't say guarantee any success, but I don't think you never guarantee. I don't think you say guarantee that, but I think give yourself a better chance. And I think that's the point of today's discussion. And I think looking at the current situation, especially in South Africa, where the government basically like sold us out and left us for dead,
Hey, careful there with those words, man. People sold us out. You'd have to justify that right there.
But in a sense, like, imagine, bro, when it was time for election season, they were like, it came from the president's mouth that, we're going to provide something, provide about 5 million jobs. You know. Then come the second, just come a few years after the instatement, then when he has the address, he's basically tells young people, we don't have jobs, go to the private sector. So then what are you telling us? Were they jobs to begin with, or weren't they jobs? But I think
so what you're saying is we were lied to basically from the very get-go.
I think the entire truth wasn't shared, but I think but I guess, like, I think when I speak to some friends, even some people who I had met along in varsity who were like from other African countries and all, the youth there already knows that they shouldn't expect something from the government. And I think this was just something like of a long time coming to South Africa, that once we also got put in, the economic situation we're in, I think it now also showed us that we also can't rely on the government to change our situation, which is okay. I mean, I'm not looking for the government to bail me out. I think I think it's like something you said the other day, that we need to actually rise to the challenge and say that, okay, if there's a lack of jobs. Why don't we look at other ways in which we can bring value to the marketplace? And I think that's what young people should be looking at now, to say that how else can I make my skills valuable in a society now where it might not necessarily be my paper that is gonna get me, into the place. Because I think that's also something important to understand, that we don't live in a time anymore where simply your qualification gets you a seat at the table. Now it's other things. What skills do you have? Are you good at negotiating? Are you good at communicating with people? Can you solve problems?
Yes.
And I think that leads into like a bit of like, from your understanding, like, then what do you think was like the purpose of it? That might sound like a deep question, but I just have a question, like, because I just want us to paint a picture and like contrast, like, what education was intended for initially. Versus, is it serving the current purpose now? Well, contrasting it to today's time.
Sure, man. Look, it's funny because we were earlier on today. We were just talking about. So I'm gonna get to your question just now, but earlier on we are just talking about how easy it was for our parents back then to afford stuff. Today you're making twice as much money as your parents, but you can't move out of your parents' house. But back then they could sustain their entire family just on like a couple of few cents here and there put together. They could afford a car. They could buy a house. Afford taking you guys out for lunch or like a free lunch out of McDonald's or whatever. But today, I think, commodities, the value of commodities has, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know how world commodities really work, right? I'm not sure whether they like push up the price of the gold or something, or like other world commodities or earth commodities, but things have certainly changed over the years, right?
Definitely.
But back then, what I'm trying to get to is education was straightforward. You go to school, study what's necessary and what's on demand at the time. It was a supply and demand simple economic structure, especially for South Africa. Actually, our economy was pretty strong, dude. Did you know our economy was actually just as strong as the United States back then? The rand to the dollar was pretty much, they were pretty much equals at that point.
Yeah.
And they're battling each other out. Obviously, that's until 1994 when South Africa was declared a free country, right? Yeah. That's when the rand started dropping. From that point on, it just plummeted down. Yeah, it just started going down and down and down. We gave up nuclear power plants back then. But what I'm trying to get to is education at the time was pretty much simple, and it was designed to help people because the economy was flourishing and booming. We knew exactly where, by the way, at the time, they knew what they were looking for. We had shortage of skills, which is what we have today.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the shortage of skills back then, people could afford to go to school for those things. And our parents were in school for teaching because there was a shortage of teachers back then, right? For, schools, right? Because then, you got lots of these other schools that needed rebuilding because of the 1976 saga and other things that like may have caused that, right? But the point is, there was a shortage of skills and they knew where to allocate those. There were actually empty blocks for those skills. Today, they say, go to school. But in actual fact, as much as we have a shortage of skills in this country, it's funny how they're never put into use, bro. That's the thing that's annoying. It's like, how are you telling me we have a shortage of engineers in the country?
Yeah.
If you're out here hiring engineers from Cuba.
Good question.
Tell me how that makes sense to you. Like, it doesn't make sense to me reading. Like, if you're going to tell me, also, by the way, I'm using a very specific word here, skill, instead of where, it doesn't say, we don't say we have a shortage of educated people. Because it doesn't necessarily mean, you got to be educated. As long as you're really, really skilled on your craft, we want you to do this thing. Get the ship moving, right, at the end of the day. So I said ship, by the way, SHIP. I just need to specify that. Get the ship moving. You just need to get the craft moving, man, at the end of the day. If you were one of those people who are that deadly, you can like write stuff for people. You can provide a certain service for people to get things moving, businesses moving. You can put wheels on stuff, on people's products to get them going, you know. You become a valuable member to society. Now, what's happening today is that I think where we've failed is that we've made, because back then people used to be dependent on the government to provide them jobs, which the government did spectacularly. These days it's different. The government is like, actually, we've got a bit of a problem here. Those blocks we were filling in back in the 90s, they're all filled in. And it's like, well, we don't have any more free blocks for you guys, unfortunately. It's only the private guys that have those free blocks or the freedom to take you guys in from varsity, right? So there's this sort of like illusion rather. Yeah, that's the word. There's this illusion of being highly qualified if you do honors in this country, because you're too highly qualified. And it's true, but it's highly qualified relative to the blocks they had opened up back in the 90s, though. But with the new jobs, you're actually qualified for the new jobs, but there aren't any, though, in the country. And you could ask yourself, well, it could be that we don't have as many entrepreneurs, which should be from the educated class, to be honest with you.
Yes.
You know, the educated class should look at the situation and go, oh, okay, we don't have jobs. How do you create more jobs? It's like, oh, okay, well, then there's crime issues. There's criminal justice, loopholes that we see in the country. There's policies lacking with like a bunch of loopholes. There's leadership that's not taking accountability. It's like, it's whole pandemonium over here. Now, how to fix something like that? It's mismanagement at the end of the day, right? I heard a quote from Miles Monroe recently. He was like, the only way to fix a crisis of mismanagement is to, Flip, what did you say again? I'm trying to think, actually. Hang on.
And maybe try and paraphrase it.
Yeah. Let me see if I can try to actually paraphrase it. But he was getting somewhere with the fact that you have, hang on. It should be here somewhere. I'm actually Googling this for you guys. I'm literally finding it for you. Hang on. Just give me 2 more seconds. It should be.
Fetch that quote.
Nah, dude, I'm telling you, Miles Monroe is just like one of the most, kind of like underrated people out there, honestly. Super underrated. Screen recording. Yeah, it should be here. Okay. Okay, I might not have it here actually with me, come to think of it. Dang it. Yes. Okay. Well, unfortunately, guys, it's not here. But what he was getting to is that if it was something to do with planning or something like that, right? But like if you don't plan, you ultimately lose whatever it is you're trying to manage or whatever, something like that, right? But essentially, what I'm trying to get to is we have a mismanagement of resources over here in this country. If those were to be allocated correctly. Now, let me give you an example. The education system is a little bit flawed because now we realize 20 years into our democracy that, hey, hang on, how are we still filling in the same jobs? How are we still looking at the same jobs we had 20 years ago?
Yes, and
that's the
realizing that it needs to change for the current market.
Yes. Also, if you think about it, it's only a small proportion of people that were actually studying progressive courses, like engineering, for example.
Yeah.
It's a small proportion of engineers or people who study progressive courses who are in those fields today. What I'm trying to say is, your dad right now, Craig, could have had, back in the 90s, he could have easily had an opportunity to go study engineering, right? Let's say if you were white, right? Easily. Those guys right there are still in position of those jobs. So some of them, there are guys in this country who are willing to work 25 years, same position, no promotions or little promotions bit by bit, right? Just because the CEO is kind of greedy and they just want to keep them there, and because they know what they're doing, and they don't want the cost of having to hire new trainees and having to train them, create a new training program or whatever, right? It's a whole cascade or a myriad of, of problems rather. So I think for me, it's a little bit flawed, man, in that case. And I think that system is it just won't work. It's not going to work in this current time, which is why, it goes back to what we were saying earlier.
Yeah.
You need to be skilled in order for you to flourish in this current economy. You can't be, one dimensional at all.
No, you definitely can't. I think all of the points there which you raised were like very key, because it now leads into the thing of like understanding that since the education system might be, held back and all of that.
Yeah.
With the rise of so many things that we have done nowadays, and especially after COVID and stuff, I think you can see that there's a lot of opportunities opening up for things that were never there at school. They were never set in stone as like qualifications, like even things like digital marketing.
Yeah,
at school,
man.
there were no such thing as digital marketing.
Sure.
We're not old, but I'm just saying, like, even in high school, whatnot, there was no room for that. Robotics, they're now trying to introduce that with the kids and stuff. What else would I say? I think, man, even just being someone who's able to, like, strategize in terms of like online content and all of that. People man. Things regarding SEO and all of that stuff. There's just a lot of stuff that is now being created that the traditional education system probably doesn't have, qualifications for.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I'm not saying they should, have qualifications for all of the things springing up, but I think if we understand that we're going to be in a digital world for the foreseeable future, it might benefit you to give some kind of course that can, equip people for that, and they can have their qualification, And I think that's where it now leads me to think about other things. That do you think our current education systems as a whole, not only in South Africa, are agile enough to keep up with the demands of a changing world? Because sometimes it feels like you're bringing people out, you're training them out of these universities, but then they get there and then the goalposts have already shifted. I can speak personally, like I studied construction management. You finish the course, and then lo and behold, you find that we used to have what we call the big five. So these were the 5 major construction companies in South Africa.
Sure.
You find that as soon as you graduate, with 4 of the 5 big 5 collapse, and they undergo a liquidation. Who's supposed to hire you now? It's not to say they were the only people hiring, but they were big contributors to the construction industry. So then my question to you is, like, now, do you think that education, like our education structures, are agile enough to keep up with the demand of the changing world? And if not, do you think other things like, these online avenues or these boot camps, which are now being done for some courses, are more better fitted for that?
Honestly, I think our economy is very fluid, actually. It may not seem like that, but it is, right? It's not so stiff that you can't push out anything you want to do that's outside what you studied, right? But certainly, I think if you're...
Good point.
No, man. So if you think for a minute that you are going to be, it goes back to the point that I made. You have to, actually, sorry, let me put it this way. Here's an additional point. You have to be willing to learn and continuously learn. That's the world we're in today. Definitely. It's so what's the word? Vague and undefined that it's so hard for you to sort of like solidify yourself and your career into this current world. You gotta have a very fluid career, which means you gotta be willing to learn new software programs. You gotta be willing to learn new things. You gotta be willing to, go into boot camps, and, as you mentioned, you gotta be willing to talk to people, you learn new stuff, read books on new, new technologies, new software, programs out there, or just be comfortable. Actually, one of the basic skills you really, really need in this economy, a simple, practical one, understanding how to use a computer.
Yes. Basic understanding of how to use a computer.
It's a powerful tool, man. Dude, if I gave anybody right now in the rural areas, gave them a computer with an i9 processor, can handle any, with a RTX 3080 graphics card, right? And
getting technical for the listeners, yeah.
But anyway. Sorry. Okay, yeah, but like what I'm trying to say is, if you gave a person in rural areas like a very powerful laptop, high internet bandwidth speed, right? Yeah. Fiber, basically, you give them fiber internet, and you give that kid, what else?
You essentially set them up with everything that they need.
Yeah. I'm telling you, no, but you don't take that kid to school though. That's the thing. Yeah. I'm telling you right now, that kid has got a better chance, if they apply themselves, on succeeding in this current world economy than the person who just goes to university and expects jobs to come hunting down for them, or expect companies to come headhunting them, down or whatever. Gone are those days where companies are headhunting people down, to be honest with you, right? Of course, there's still a few, but companies these days have got websites, guys. Nobody's going to be digging through. Like, there's LinkedIn, LinkedIn is there. So if they want to headhunt you, it's kind of easy as well. But
I think with what you're sharing, it ties into another point that, like, if we understand that and know that about education, then isn't it better that education suits some people, depending on what they want to do, it suits them more than others. What I'm trying to say is that, like, if you're trying to do a professional that's like, if you're trying to do a profession that requires you specifically to have a qualification.
Yes.
Like, for example, you cannot be, I even said this the other time, you cannot be a doctor from YouTube.
Yes.
You cannot watch YouTube and then become a doctor. Like,
watch a YouTube
video. You need
a
qualification. We need to verify that you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Whereas there are other things, like, as we're discussing, like with the new skills that are coming up in today, where you could learn them from these online platforms or boot camps or whatever the case may be.
Yes.
Where you don't necessarily need an application, but you don't necessarily need a qualification, but you need to show that you can apply yourself.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Go ahead, sir.
No, jump in.
Oh, yeah. And I was just going to say, you're absolutely right about that. And that's actually the power of accreditation right there on its own. It's like you're being approved by a higher body of knowledge or higher body of education to say this person can execute task A, B, C, D, and E, right? And so that's actually super important, because how else are people supposed to validate you? Yeah, they can see. But also these days, people create portfolios online, right? But obviously, for a medical doctor, for that degree,
you can't have a portfolio of people have operated on it. Like no, guys, trust me, I know what I'm doing.
No, man. No, I agree. You can't do that. You got to be a little bit more. For that, you have to go to school. Accreditation is important for sure. We're not taking away the power that it's got, but there are other things. Like, for example, today, like, freelancers in software development are a lot. And I'm talking in countries like in the United States, for example. Now, this in countries like, South Africa, here in Africa in general.
Shortage.
We've got a shortage. And I think it's because of lack of knowledge more than anything, to be honest with you.
Yes.
It's funny because in my field, I studied aeronautical engineering.
Speak on it, King.
In my field, bro, let me tell you right now, we don't have jobs. Most of us who studied aeronautical at the University of the Witwatersrand, oh my goodness.
The University of the Witwatersrand.
Oh my goodness. Look at the Model C kid right here. Get out of my face. Yeah, how do you say it?
University of the Witwatersrand. It has to roll off your tongue. Come on.
Yeah, there we go.
You're the one with the American accent. You're supposed to be schooling me. You're supposed
to be man, but dude, it's Afrikaans, right? Is it? Yeah. Hey, man. Yeah. But my friend Robert once taught me it's Wits. It's not Vets.
Yes.
Like AB. It's not Vets, bro. It's Wits.
Or how the girls, when they want to train, they're like, Verts. I went to Verts.
Verts.
Like, what?
Yeah, Verts Queens, huh? Yeah, they're something else, aren't they? Anyways, we aren't there today, but the point I'm trying to make, bro, is that accreditation is something super powerful, but there are skills out there that people can certainly gain and like capitalize on. Like Definitely. Being a dev actually sometimes is not necessarily something you go to school for. You could just get certificates on it because what's important is you executing the work. 100%. For things like that, you then need a portfolio.
Yes.
Because people can then see your work like, oh, this guy can do A, B, C, D, E, right? So that's the only accreditation I need. Some business people are like, that's the only accreditation I need. Yes. I don't need all these certificates and whatever.
Exactly. Even like your manager, he comes from a teaching background.
My manager?
Your manager in your company.
Yeah, you mean my colleague?
Oh, a colleague, sorry.
Yeah.
He's old guy. So
yeah. Dude, that's because all it doesn't mean he's a manager. Go ahead.
Yeah, but like he comes from that background. He comes from a teaching background.
Sure.
Working, in the data space.
Yes.
But of course, he's got experience.
Yeah,
he does.
He
does. And just the data. But like he's got the experience, but that just shows his ability to apply and his willingness to
adapt,
learn, bro. And I think that's the key because on this point, it's like there are people that, for those professions like medicine or law or even, engineering / accounting, like those type of professions, without a doubt, you do need to have a certification because I worked in construction. I interned in construction. I cannot tell you how many mistakes people would make on site, and you cannot have an engineer who doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, 100%.
We'll be building on site, and a beam will fall on or collapse on people there. So you cannot.
Don't want that.
Yeah, he needs to know what he's doing. Don't come here and tell me I watched YouTube. No. No, we're not doing that.
Hey, YouTube's got its own market, basically, right? So it's got limits too.
You see, but then there are other things, like as you're saying, can be with those in the tech space or digital marketing or learning how to do design, like fashion design. Or, anything else, like there are other stuff that you can learn. So I think it shows that I think with the current economy which we're going into now, it's like people need to see that there are things that they can do beyond education and they can teach themselves to gain, certain skills. I think even from your experience, there is some stuff, there is some value that you gain from education.
Yeah, for sure.
Like for you, what was your experience? Like what is the value that you feel like you gained from it? Like the key things.
Yeah.
Like what do you feel like you benefited from in terms of education?
For me, I always enjoyed the two things. Talking to people and just like making friends. I enjoyed that part of varsity. But also the other bit that I enjoyed was the fact that it always kept me on my toes. It taught me how to organize my time, how to be dedicated to the craft, not giving up when failure comes 100%. Up. Adversity comes, man. It's going to knock you down, that very thing that you wanted. And you're like, you need to question yourself at that point, like, oh man, do I still want it?
Do I give up or do I?
Or keep going? So it teaches you that resilience, at the end of the day, and patience too, teaches you patience, bro. Also, it teaches you to try out different things.
Yes.
When a problem is there, dude, and nobody's there to save you,
you
try out every single avenue possible
until you get it.
Until you get to the solution.
Until you get
right.
it.
You try out. You experiment essentially. You literally experiment. And engineers live in experiments actually, right? Especially if you got a BSc, you will literally be experimenting because you don't have, the practical kind of know-how of things. Because there's a difference between a B-Eng and a BSc. So us BScs don't really get to apply most of what we learn. So we are a bit, proper nerds. We're like bookworms essentially when it comes to quite a lot of these experiments that because we're always like, okay, well, what's the hypotheses, right?
Does the B-Eng only come when you're doing your honors?
No. B-Eng is from undergrad, bro.
Oh, okay.
At Tux, for example, UP, University of Pretoria, where Elon Musk did his BSc in physics. There, they actually, give you a B-Eng in engineering. So it's Bachelor of Engineering in Mechanical Engineering or Chemical, whatever.
It's a BSc.
Yeah, it's a Bachelor of Science. So it's more like on the theoretical side of things. So you're more into the...
That's the same as us for construction.
Same with construction, exactly. You guys, yeah. So the only practical know-how you get to experience is through vac work.
Vac work, yes.
Vacation work, essentially, right? Which is stuff that they tell you to do in your spare time. It's like, go do this in your spare time. And come back with proof. And it's like, do you understand how many loopholes are in that? Yes. Just right there? Like somebody could just like I don't know, fake the whole thing, just generate fake reports. And I've seen many people do that actually. But in any case, I'm not there. I was just like wrapping up the point that the sorry, what was I again?
You were sharing like the key things that you learned from education.
Yeah.
Benefited from it.
Yeah. So, bro, I think, hey, man, relationships are important, and I think that's what you really want to learn. You want to learn. You want to, you don't want to be liked by everybody, but you at least want to know what's happening about you. It also teaches you to learn ahead of time. So, but this is something that I always sucked at doing, to be honest with you. Learning ahead of time isn't, I think, no. It's not that I sucked at doing it. It's just time management becomes tricky the higher up you go in engineering. First year, second year, you can manage your time pretty easily there because then the bulk of the work is not that, kind of hard. But third year going up, it's like that's where the wheels start coming off. It's like, oh, dang it, flip. I gotta, bro, it's like, man, I got like 5 assignments. They're all just super hard. Each assignment is you got research coming up, you got proposals to submit. It becomes a nightmare, but you juggle through that right there.
Those are resilience too.
Yeah, you come across failures over there, in the duration of that whole thing right there, and you become resilient, thick-skinned. Teaches you that too, and you just have to. I'm sorry, but you have to be thick-skinned in this current economy. And you have to be stubborn about what you want. That's one major thing right there.
And work towards it. And
yes.
I think even just having how can I say?
Yeah.
Like a rock hard mentality in the sense.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Don't lose your edge. Don't lose your sharpness, your
goal
and your focus and your goal to go for things and work until you get it.
Sure.
Because I know that one thing that defeats a lot of people in general when things are not going well in life, it's to lose your resolve.
Yeah.
You should never lose the resolve.
That's right. The resolve. That's the word.
And those are things which you cannot teach people.
Word.
That was something that even in my personal experience I've had to learn also myself, in the sense that when things are not going well, even if maybe you're at a certain job, you leave that one, you're on to the next job search, to keep pushing until you find a way. Maybe you're realizing that, okay, the quote unquote, structured career path is not working for me. Maybe I'm going to dive into entrepreneurship. Is being resilient about whatever it is that you want. And I feel like that is some of the important lessons I also learned, even within varsity as well. Like, even as you're saying, to just be resilient with something, man. I can tell you a funny story. I remember when I wrote my final physics exam. I remember bro, I kid you not. I kid you not, physics, I failed my first semester test. I failed my second semester test.
Oh, dang it.
I failed my June exam.
Oh, dang it.
I only passed my third semester test and fourth semester test, I think. I failed my first semester labs. I passed my second semester labs. I needed to get 75 in the final exam to pass physics, but I passed it.
My goodness. Right here, man. Pound it, great.
I think, I believe definitely God helped me.
But man.
I also feel like there was that thing that I also had to do on my part to be resilient,
Yeah.
That's a small example, but I think the important things that I definitely learned from varsity, one thing I always keep with me is, as you were mentioning earlier, the ability to learn.
Yeah.
I think the ability to learn is just so key, and you can never put that aside, especially in today's economy. You need to be someone who's always keeping on their toes and doing better. And I think that leads into another question that how do you think education is going to change in the future, especially now that we're seeing the things that are happening in our country? You're seeing so many young people are without jobs, bro. And then there's the pandemonium, hey, should people not go to school now? Or should we keep them going to school? Because people are not really sure what are we supposed to do with this education if some people are not without work. I will also give the caveat that people who are actually graduates, the unemployment rate for graduates is far much less.
Yes.
It's between 8 and 10% for graduates.
True.
Which, okay, you can argue compared to other countries is still a lot.
Yeah.
But graduates are not as hard hit as maybe those who don't get to go to tertiary.
Yeah.
But
true.
anyway, the question then is like, how do you think education is going to change in the years to come? And how do you think like people can actually, for those who are in higher forms of education right now, in tertiary, how do you think they can leverage what they have, for the future?
I think, man, the job scarcity for educated folks is going to drop. In other words, I think there's going to be more jobs in the future for educated people.
Why do you say so?
I'm just looking at the economic landscape of the country, and I think that there's going to be an awakening at some point. You can't possibly tell me that we're all just going to like look at each other like, where are the jobs? Where are the jobs? You're just like looking left, right, asking yourself where the job all the time, like like we're little quacks or whatever. We're not. We're human beings, and I think we're quite a progressive country, just as South Africa and as Africans in general, right? So I think there's going to be a lot of progress. Like usually, I think from what I've seen in the past, during World War, which was a catastrophic time really to live in, right? You had that followed up by actually during those times, you had developments coming into the like huge economic developments. So I think in this case, we're not really at war, but we're kind of like at war with ourselves.
Kind of like in a rock and a hard place.
A rock and a hard place, exactly, dude. We're in, exactly. That's what I was actually trying to get to. We're in a very, very hard place, hard spot, and that's gonna make us actually take into action some pretty tough decisions, to say, hey, guys, we're in a dire situation here. It's do or die. What do we do? It's do or die. Our kids, you and I are going to have kids someday. One thing for sure that we don't want to do is bring kids in a situation, good and well, Craig, good and well, you're not setting up your kid for, future. And I think today, because dads are more involved, our generation is a little more cautious about, that right there.
People into the future without having proper things in place.
Yes. Obviously, there's a teenage pregnancy thing that's just like shooting off the roof, though, that we can't quite, it's still a bit of an anomaly that we still need to understand as well. But, it's lack of education, it's in the rural areas mostly. And, it's fair to say that those folks, not only are they not educated, but they're totally unskilled, away from resources. What then do you expect? Those people are going to multiply for sure. But also that's a different issue for a different day. But what I'm trying to say is educated people will always have jobs. Here's the other thing. I think educated people should understand you cannot depend on the government or the private sector to give you a job. You are educated enough to find a problem in society. Find that problem, solve it, and then make money out of it. It sounds easy saying it and straightforward, but it's one of the hardest things to do.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's not easy.
It's not easy. Sometimes you do something you don't like to get to where you want to be.
Where you want to be. That's a powerful point.
Be willing to embrace that.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Also understand you're not entitled to anything. Period. Don't care who you are, you just aren't.
Government owes you nothing. The world owes you nothing.
Thank you. The government owes you jack, right? Yeah. No, it's right here. You actually missed it.
Yeah.
This man.
Get rid of this mosquito. Anyway.
Yeah, he was trying to catch a mosquito. He failed drastically.
Dismally,
sir. Anyways, right. So the government owes nobody anything. The government owes nobody nothing, actually. So I think, first of all, we need to engrave that down to ourselves, right? Nobody's going to come to the rescue. You are there swimming in the middle of the ocean just by yourself. You got sharks surrounding you. Either you swim, or if you stay in the water long enough, the sharks are going to end up devouring you. You want to be careful about that, right? You're like, obviously, this is like worst case scenario, right? It's advisable that you find help, though, like folks around you who are willing to help you out. Funny enough, people are willing to help proactive people.
Yes.
I want to emphasize the word there, proactive. Please be proactive. People don't want to work with people who just like are there to absorb and absorb and absorb and absorb, and they never give. or they never show initiative, right?
Yes.
Show initiative, show you're interested, show me something you've built or something, right? If you haven't built anything, get started, like today, like now. Pause the podcast, go build it, come back, listen to the rest of it, right? Actually, maybe just listen to the rest of it first and then come back and then go and build, right? But the fact is, we are now as men, by the way, did you know this? Like, we're actually born as builders, as men. We always want to build something. That's why in history, men have always like built empires, had them crumble down and then build them back up again. It's a whole process, right? So I think as humanity, actually, just as mankind, we're born to build stuff. So go out there and just build. So that's my 2 cents on why we'll never run out of why education is always going to be relevant, rather, right?
Okay.
And going into the future.
I think you raised valid points there, but I was waiting for the part where you're going to tell us how to equip ourselves, beyond the education. But I think you did mention, yeah?
Yeah.
It's 23 hours.
There we go.
That's Siri.
That is Siri, actually, yeah.
But I think to just like
add on that, bro.
What you're saying, I just think for the future, I think there are many keys that are beyond education. I think first and foremost, we had already mentioned this if you were listening carefully, like skills are also one of the major keys. When we're talking about skills, we're talking about things that you can practically do for people, that you can learn and do for people to add value. So, for example, if you want, you could learn how to develop things for people to become a developer.
Sure.
You can learn how to, market things and sell things, because let's be honest, people can build a very beautiful thing, but if they cannot sell it,
bro, marketing is big, bro.
Marketing will always have value in
man.
our society, even if things have maybe looking wonky and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think the ability to this is a newer one, the ability to like connect people and reach out to people like through content and all that. That's a new one. That wasn't there.
It was definitely not there before.
But all of these stuff, we're just mentioning them just to say that I think beyond having your qualification, it's important to have skills.
Yeah.
Look at you. You started doing photo taking and you started doing, the YouTube channel. Those are skills that if ever you want, if you can, edit for someone's YouTube. If ever you want to, you can take pictures for someone and they can pay you to do that.
Sure.
They can pay you. And the list goes on and on. But what I'm just trying to say is have skills that people value. I think now more than ever, people are understanding that to win also in this economy is to find a way to provide value to people.
Yes.
If you provide value to people, you will never be someone who is not of use. If you can provide value to me, because guys, especially like rich people that have you ever like chilled around with rich people? That's how they think. If you can do anything that can add value to them and save them time, they will pay for it. They will pay for it, like
without thinking twice about it.
Without thinking twice, bro. If they just come to you like, AV, I don't have time. Can you just transcribe this video for me? And then like you transcribe it for him, and then he just gives you like 5K, like just for doing that. Like, I'm just throwing out an arbitrary number, but I'm just saying like
transcriptions are not that pricey, guys. Or
I'm just throwing out an arbitrary number. I'm just saying that if you can provide me value, I'll pay you to do it. Like if you can save me time, I'll pay you to do it. So I think that's one thing. I think another thing is like another key which can also help, alongside the education, is having things like soft skills. Soft skills are so underrated. Soft skills are so underrated. Some people miss it in the varsity train, and which is a perfect place to learn it because you get great exposure to it. But then they learn it on later in life. That's fine. But I saw that especially with even some of the things that I was doing recently, like also doing like another course and stuff, and it boggled me that like I saw that for the first time in a long time that my soft skills that I learned in varsity actually came in handy. Being able to communicate effectively with people.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Being able to
articulate a problem or a solution.
Working in a group setting, having a sense of professionalism. And that's one thing I also learned. I was like, you can see the difference between someone who has worked a day in their life and someone who has never worked.
You
rock up late. You just like
value people's time.
You are not how can
organized,
I say presentable? You're
structured,
not organized. Even the way you carry yourself, like you do not differentiate between this is a work setting, this is a proper meeting, deliverables are expected of you. You just treat it like as if you're chilling with your friends in the corner. And I think
at the pub.
I'm telling you, and soft skills are very underrated.
Sure,
being
man,
able to negotiate, being able to communicate.
Yeah.
Like those are things that, guys, if you could quantify the value of that, like people always stress that so much in the workplace. That sometimes you get these young people, they come here, they cannot communicate to save their lives. And communicate is not only like public speaking, but it's being able to, just even the way you structure a format, grammar. You are sending a format there with incorrect English, or you are saying, or in the.
And you call yourself an educated person.
Or in the header, or in the beginning of your email where you say, hi, John, whatever. You just start writing a long paragraph and sentence. It's not even structured to the things that you say. And it just shows you that, like, really soft skills. Another thing. Is something you wanted to add?
Yeah, man, I gotta say, bro, I 100% concur with you. Jordan Peterson actually said something quite important along the lines of what we're talking about here. He said, if you can't read, write, and talk to people, you become pretty deadly in this day and age. But also, he said something about the fact that universities don't really tell you why you actually need to write stuff down. It's like, well, you need it because you need your GDP. What do you get? What do they call it in the States again? Your GPA, or your it's for your grading points or whatever. And then Jordan Beers it's like, no, you need to learn how to think.
Yes,
that's why you need to write. You need before you send that email out.
Yes,
I remember. But you know what's funny though? Let me tell you a bit of a side story that I had when I started working last year, 2 years ago. Yeah, last year actually, 2021. Yeah, 2021. When I was sending emails, I thought I actually proofread it, but in fact, I actually just didn't. I just scheme read past it.
Yes.
You do not do scheme reading. Sit there, read that email word by word before you send it to big people.
Before you make an attachment, before you send the email,
yeah,
download the attachment that you've put on the email.
See what's in there.
You have sent a document, and you have sent your own selfie. You see, guys, things like that. Like,
yeah, bro. Like bro. It's like it sounds intuitive, but it's actually really not. Like common sense is actually not so common. You'd be very shocked. Yeah. So I remember last year there was bro. I had a typo in my email that I sent out to like the CEO, right, of the company I was working for, and the sister company of the company I was working for. So 2 CEOs, bro. So I was killing basically 2 birds with 1 stone. But it was the wrong stone, So it was a wrong stone.
You're supposed to kill Goliath. Goliath killed you,
bro. Yeah, Goliath killed me, and I was like, dang it. I got, obviously, needless to say, I was punished for that because I deserved it. You deserve to be punished for such mistakes. It's rookie because it's your first job. On my second job, I'm telling you, bro. Now, good thing about my second job is that I don't have to write so many emails too, though. Hey, man, I had to write tons of emails. You're working as a data analyst this side. You're doing, because it was like 2-sided. There's the data analytics side to it, and there's a business side to it. Yeah. So they were training you in both accounts, which was actually, I still would vouch. Listen, I wouldn't change anything for that opportunity. This company called South African Innovation Summit, bro, I still think people are, like, the way they just take in graduates, it was just a fantastic opportunity,
Trained you well.
No, they do, man. They train you properly, man. And that's just, those are skills, actually. We're talking about skills right now. Those are skills you will never lose, my guy.
Yes.
Now going into business, before you send any email, it starts there. Also, by the way, this is a funny thing. Did you know that business people also don't know how to read emails?
What do you mean?
Like, business people don't like reading emails, is what I'm trying to say. Okay. You send them an email with all the information that they need to ask you stuff. And it's like, you're the CEO of this company, and you're out here, like, it's in the email, it's in the detail. But that's the other thing. It got me asking myself a bunch of questions, like, is there something wrong with the emailing system, or is there something wrong with the person that I'm sending the email to? And if it's a lot of them, then clearly there's something wrong with the emailing system. People don't like reading emails. I don't like reading emails. I'll be catching up on emails tomorrow. I still don't like reading them. So, but bro, I think, those soft skills right there are super important, and being able to negotiate, talk to people, have fun with people. And it's funny for big companies like the company I work for now, they literally had to take you through a course where you're like, dude, they teach you like basic things like you can't be like touching a woman this way or something. Those like dumb, stupid videos
kind of like
on
corporate etiquette in a sense.
Yes, yeah, exactly. That's what it is, bro. Etiquette. And it's like etiquette. Yeah. You watch the video and you go, how has society gone to this point where we can't think for ourselves? We got to be shown videos now on what etiquette actually is, and how to actually treat like basic humanity, right? Basic human skills, right? Soft skills. It goes back to that. Yeah, because those are soft skills, knowing how to deal with people, deal with situations, read the room, understand who you're talking to, present yourself properly as a professional.
Present yourself how you'd want to be taken in the
How do you want to be taken?
And I think so many times young people overlook that. I remember, like, as I was telling you,
not for sure, man.
Some people that I'd worked with, and like you just see that the way the person dresses, the way they talk, and then it's a thing of, you need to understand that the corporate world is like that. If you portray yourself in a certain manner, that's how people will treat you.
Yes.
You don't take yourself seriously. You don't show there's authority in your voice when you speak, and you're serious, and people should pay attention to you. And when it's time to work, it's time to work.
Sure.
People will run over you.
Yeah.
And it's exactly like that. And it leads on to like the final 2 points. The other 2 keys, which I think were also worth mentioning, is like being able to network. I prefer the term relationship building, because networking sounds very like, like very
LinkedIn-ish.
LinkedIn-ish, and it also sounds like very like ingenuine, and like I want to get something from you, because that's how it's been associated nowadays. We've heard it so many times. Yes. Now, like, sometimes I get an invite from someone on LinkedIn, and then I know that this person is just like reaching out to me because they just want ABC, when it's actually like a thing of, let's relationship build with people, being able to be like, hey AV, how are you, connecting with a person, finding out a bit of AV. You don't need to know everything about AV and be involved in his life, but finding out a few things about him that make him tick, and then remembering those things. And then when I meet AV next time, and I was like, oh, I remember AV, I met you at such and such an event, and you were telling me about a course which you started doing. Were you able to achieve that course? AV will be much more open now to like speaking with me and communicating with me, because I showed a genuine interest in it. As opposed to be like, hey AV, can you do XYZ for me? And I think that's what I'm trying to speak on the part of relationship building, because if you can build relationships with people, that is so powerful. Because I think no matter how much you can do on your own, we all realize that you can never be, no man is an island on their own. No person can possibly do everything on their own. You need people to help you. And if you have good relationships with people, I tell you, you can go anywhere. I can speak even on a personal situation. There was a time where a friend of mine had called me, and I was friends with this friend back from varsity. I'm not saying was like as if we're fighting now. It's just that, relationships kind of drift over time.
Yeah, they do, man.
In different places.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. And he called me and he had a personal problem, and he didn't have the money to solve the problem, number one, but number two, he needed someone who had a background in law, and he was going to get in trouble for something, and no, it wasn't anything illegal, but like he needed legal advice.
Yo, Craig, who are you associated with?
No, and then he called me.
He
called me, like I was at work, and then he called me.
And
then I was like, okay, there's this lady I know. She's a good friend of mine.
Yes, man.
She knows people, and she's in the law space. Here's a number, call her. She will help you. I spoke to her. I was like, please, can you just do me this favor? I know you're busy. I know you have a lot of stuff that you do with.
But there's an urgent matter here
to help this person, because this is a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And she was like, it's fine. I'll help him. She advised him, helped him, sorted out the case. Everything was done. If I didn't have a good relationship with that lady, he wouldn't have been able to get any help from me.
True.
But that is a key. Just having that relationship from someone who I met back when I was in varsity. But because I had a good relationship with her, I could ask her for help. And it wasn't even for help for me directly. It was for someone else. But she was be willing to help because I maintained a good relationship with her.
Exactly.
You know.
So that nexus of connections right there is actually super important. And who you're connected to is not necessarily the person who you'll be receiving direct help from.
100%.
Much like your situation there. And that's literally actually it's kind of that's what LinkedIn is trying to do, but in a like more like in a digital scale, on a digital platform. So it's actually super important to create those kind of connections. I recently just had a guy reach out to me asking me about what I do for my job and things like that. So, but more, he was actually from he's from a web development. Web development. He's got a web development background. So we were like discussing that a little bit, and we're like exchanging ideas and stuff like that. It actually was fun. Honestly, it's just on LinkedIn. I also have to say, personally, I've never had like that many like returns out of LinkedIn. It's probably at most like 5 people that I've met as strangers and still chat with till this day.
Yeah.
All right. Most of them were business folks, but it's I still have a good relationship with them. But it's I'm guilty of this too because I'm not checking on them right now. At a personal scale. But also I do have some of their numbers on my phone, so which makes it easier for me to reach out to them. Yeah, because LinkedIn is a little. Honestly, I prefer reaching. If I have your numbers in WhatsApp, it's much easier for me. Exactly, it's much easier for me to reach out to you than over on LinkedIn. But also, you can't be asking people for their numbers on LinkedIn unless you get their numbers somehow through a third party person, because it's kind of creepy if you do that to people on LinkedIn. Like, yo, give me your numbers, girl. 100%. Give me your numbers.
And then I think that
I don't want any of that. Go ahead, sir.
And then that was very true, man. I think if you have that personal relationship established, then it makes it easier.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
No, it does. So, I mean, like one of the things that actually, by the way, you guys, let me give you a bit of background on this man. This man went to Model C school, right? So this is a fact actually about him. So I need you to understand where this man is coming from. And you mentioned something about they didn't have things like, you mentioned courses they didn't have in your high school, though. Even in a Model C high school, like things like digital marketing, which they didn't have in high school.
Or were you? I think that time we were speaking about like the languages that people learned. That as a home language, I had English, and then as an additional.
No. Just now we're talking about you mentioned, man, something just at the beginning of the podcast, essentially that. These days there are like things that are not taught in school, like robotics now that they're including in schools.
No, I was just speaking generally.
Okay. But did you have robotics though in your school?
No, we didn't have that.
Oh, okay. Model C guy.
No. They're introducing it now, like even in the public system.
But like, I feel like I still feel like you guys were set up. You had an advantage compared to people who didn't go to.
I think maybe some of the resources that were available, maybe that regard. Yeah, maybe. But I still think at the end of the day, varsity was a great equalizer. But not to forget the other key, the last key. Yeah. Was just, I think if you forget everything, man.
Yeah.
If you listen to this and it just came in one year and went out the other year.
Yeah.
I think this is the important one you should take on.
Yeah.
Being a problem solver. If you can solve problems for people of any shape or kind relative to what it is that you are doing. Remember, problem solving, people always think that you maybe need to be an engineer or what to be a problem solver.
Yes.
Problem solving, for example.
Yeah.
Let's say that I work in a space where I just want someone who can find a way to get me a certain material at a way cheaper price than where I'm getting it. If I know a place to get that, I've already solved a problem and I can service that person's needs.
Yeah.
If you can learn how to solve problems, it doesn't matter if we're a recession. It doesn't matter if COVID-22 comes.
Yeah.
COVID-58. It doesn't matter what comes.
COVID-58,
you will always have value in the society.
Yeah.
And
man.
I think that's a super key thing that we can, especially those who have had the opportunity to go to higher education, whatnot, to leverage in your favor.
Yeah.
Taking what you have learned, because throughout your schooling, you've had to solve problems.
Yeah.
You've had to solve problems through doing things like research, through doing things like problems, and you had to solve problems.
Yeah.
So being a problem solver, if you can learn how to apply that, I don't think.
Hey man, I amen to that, bro. My pastor usually says something like, learn to be part of the solution, not be part of the problem.
Powerful.
Yeah, man. And he keeps, repeating that, like, always, wherever you are, strive to be part of the solution. It doesn't matter what sector you're in, where you are, strive to be part of the solution. And I think, it's an important skill to have, really, is to say, okay, well, here's an issue. How do I navigate around it? How do I solve this problem? So I think asking yourself those questions and just inquiring just within is super important. Dig deep. Now, obviously, we're not saying be an entrepreneur. Not everybody's cut out to be an entrepreneur. But what we're saying is there's a problem in society. It's a mini problem that you could solve. For example, if you see that there is a actually, Craig made but that's an entrepreneurial kind of perspective of of looking at it. But let me try and give another example. Like, let's say you see a problem of actually, you could even be the middleman in that case. You don't even have to have a proper business, but you need to be trusted by both parties.
Yes.
If you have a soft skill of talking to people.
Some of the richest people today who we know, Warren Buffett brokers deals for people. If you didn't know, he gets paid to just facilitate a deal between two parties.
Yeah.
And because he is trusted and he has got the soft skills to negotiate for both people, they give him a cut of the deal.
See, he's solving a problem of, he's getting rid of miscommunication plans, misinterpretations, right? This is a man who's got a skill and is like, okay, I'm going to be the mediator between these two folks right here. And I'm going to make this happen. Yes. You guys are going to I'm joining these two together, right? Yes. So, and people are willing to pay a lot of money for folks like that. Because sometimes it doesn't work out well if you don't have middleman sometimes. Like here in South Africa, right? Edward was telling us, dude, not too long ago. Edward, by the way, is one of our friends. That the, actually didn't look this up. I'll look it up later, but I stand corrected. He said, the guys who actually sell Apple products here in the country are actually not, like, we don't receive supply as a country from Apple directly. We receive it from like a third party. So there's a mediator, middle guy essentially between us and Apple, between the country and Apple. So the stock that we receive, that's why these iPhone prices are bloated up essentially, right? Or ballooned up. And iPhones are really like expensive in this country. Yeah. And only, the cream of the crop, the cream of the crop. The cream de la creme or whatever of the country get to afford these kind of devices because they're so expensive, because they're also trying to make a profit at the end of the day, which is kind of like, reasonable and understandable. But yeah, I think that's what, we mean by being a problem solver at the end of the day. Anyways, man, I think for me that's all we kind of like had for you. Do you have any closing remarks, man?
Nothing left to say. I think it was wrapped up nicely, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Guys, thank you for tuning in again. Follow us on Instagram, Culturing Us. That's the only social media platform we're still on at the moment. We will be expanding in other territories soon. Soon and very soon, actually. All right. Till next time, you guys. It's Culturing Us. Take care of yourselves and stay blessed.
See you guys.